So we just had Ford and GM release their earnings, and they said that 2025 was going to be a terrible year for the car market.
Ford is sort of a mess right now. The guidance was just so weak that they put out.
You have GM beating the street in terms of the bottom line, but it's the guidance that everybody is focused on.
And it's so bad at Jeep right now that I've seen ads for buy one Jeep, get one free. 14% of all auto loans right now are getting rejected, and that's the highest that we've seen in over a decade. And some manufacturers like Nissan might not even make it to the end of this year.
It's possible Japanese automaker Nissan has just about a year to survive.
And if we continue to have more of these problems in the car market, well, my business could be in trouble. Check out all of these. These are Land Cruisers. I didn't think that Toyota had a Land Cruiser problem, but this is the most of them that I've seen in one space. Maybe this dealership just ordered a bunch of them, but I want to look at one of these. This is a Land Cruiser. Here's a 1958 edition. This thing looks sweet. It's $62,274. That's the MSRP. Look at the front end on this. This thing's bad. Yeah, there shouldn't be a problem with Land Cruisers, I would assume, because these things look awesome. I don't see a lot of them on the road though, so maybe I could be wrong, and it could be price point, right? Could be that $63,000, and that's why there's a lot of them sitting here. I mean, this thing looks awesome though. So check this out. This is what a lot of dealerships are being forced to do right now. They have to take $6,000 off this truck, and the reason being is because this is a 2024 Tundra. Price on it $63,000, crazy high anyway, but we've got 2025s that are already here and more that are over there. So what has to happen is these dealerships now have the burden of getting rid of a lot of this old inventory because all this new inventory is coming in. They don't want a lot of 2024s sitting on their books, sitting on their lots right now, because they have all these 2025s that are coming in. I mean, there's a row of 2025 Tundras. You got more up there. We got more over there. We got more at the front of the building. 2024s are now collecting dust, flat spots, lot rot, everything that you can think of. Just creating more costs for their floor plans. They have to get them out of here. And what do? Well, to do that, this is a good dealership, you gotta lower the price. So when we have other automakers like Ford and GM that have shown increases in sales over the last couple years, we have Jeep, Dodge, and Ram that for their US sales are continuously in a decline. It really comes down to choices, strategic choices of what to actually sell. We know all the woes of this last regime. There is so bad that the CEO is now out and they want to go a different direction, but they still have problems with what they have on the market right now. They tried to become a luxury brand, and that just wouldn't work. That's not what Ram is. That's not what Jeep is. That's definitely not what Dodge and Chrysler are. So you're not going to be able to command luxury type of prices from consumers that want to buy those products. And this is the big problem that a lot of these dealerships, I mean, we got a Jeep dealership right on the other side that's full. We got this Ram dealer that's right here. They're stacking trucks in their used storage lot. And this is something that a lot of these dealers are filtering through right now. I know that I've talked to salespeople throughout this dealership, and they're finally starting to whittle down some of these trucks. So one thing that does perplex me about the car market and things that I'm looking at is Nissan. Nissan had a deal with Honda where there would be a merger, but Nissan would be a subsidiary of Honda. And really, I thought this was a great thing for Nissan because there have been tons of reports out that Nissan might not last another 10 to 12 months. They don't have enough operating cash to be able to be solvent for that amount of time. And if that's the case, well, they have to have some kind of bailout. They have to have some kind of help from most likely another car manufacturer in the form of either buying them out or a merger like this Honda. And I thought with them merging with Honda is best case scenario for Nissan because they're not getting bought out. Okay, they have this bailout, they're going to get some help, they're going to be under Honda but still be able to operate kind of the way they wanted to, or at least there's a kind of a situation where they get help by Honda monetarily, and then Honda gets help by them for production, things like this. It was a win-win, it seemed like to me. But now you have this merger that has fallen apart, and it's from Nissan's side because they are saying that they don't want to be a subsidiary of Honda. And that makes no sense to me because why would they think that Honda would want to come in and do a merger with them and be equals. And when Honda was coming in and basically saving Nissan's butt, right? So this is very weird to me that Nissan thought that there was going to be like a 50-50 or an even kind of share when Nissan is failing in a major way, and Honda's just fine, right? So Honda was absolutely saving Nissan. But now, since Nissan doesn't want to go that route, well, now we're back to emergency mode, and this was said by their CEO, and they might not make it throughout the rest of this year. And what's going to end up happening is either, well, there's a couple options. They can either find another partner to merge with, which if they don't want to be under someone, then they're probably not going to find that partner. Well, then they can get bought out, which in that case, whenever that happens, then they're going to have to just go by the will of whoever buys them out. And this is going to be a situation where they're going to have to sell because they can't sustain the amount of cash that they have with the time frame that is allotted for them to actually try to turn things around and become profitable again, right? And that's going to probably take a long time. Or they're just going to go bankrupt. And in which case the Nissan name will not be worth very much at all, and then someone else will eventually probably still come in and buy it out. In my opinion, I think there's probably going to be a buyout of Nissan, and they're going to have to do that route, not really because they want to. As we've seen from these merger talks, they don't want to go that route, but I think they're going to have to because they're just going to be out of money by the end of the year. And on top of price reductions at a lot of these dealerships, what we're seeing too is more incentive spend. What we're seeing is a lot more 0% interest. And typically what people in the car industry will say, well, if you have 0% interest on a vehicle, it means that you have zero interest on the actual vehicle. It means you have a hard time selling it, so you have to incentivize, you have to give reasons why a consumer should get into that vehicle. But with us seeing the increase of 0% interest across the board at a lot of these manufacturers, that's leading us to see that, okay, we have an oversupply at a lot of these dealerships. And when you have an oversupply of a lot of these dealerships, well, the manufacturers want these dealers to sell down vehicles. And the way that they can help dealers sell down these vehicles is by offering incentives, offering money on the hood, take money off the vehicle. They can add rebates to these vehicles. They can add special interest rates, all cost the manufacturer money, but help dealers move the metal. And at the end of the day, these manufacturers, they really want these dealerships. They don't want these dealerships to have 2024 still sitting on the lot right now, because they want them to be buying their 2025s. They want them to be ordering extra. They want them to be taking all their allocations. They don't want them to be turning down any allocations, because at the end of the day, these dealers back here, they are the manufacturer's customers. And if the manufacturer customers are not selling their product, well, they're not going to want to take any more of the new product that's coming in. And that's how manufacturers make money, is by dealers taking their allocations. Manufacturers need dealers to sell their cars, and right now dealers need help doing that in the form of incentives and special interest rates. So we just had Ford and GM that released their earnings, and really both of them, their numbers look good. Their sales were up. The problem is their forecast for 2025 were way down, and they anticipate that 2025 is not going to be a very good year for the car market. But what they're really leaning on that's going to be the biggest problem is the potential of tariffs. And what Ford said was that tariffs will add cost and chaos to the car industry. And that was Jim Farley, and what he's meaning by that is that it's going to increase not only prices for Ford, so their margins are going to shrink, but it's also going to increase prices for consumers if these tariffs are to come into play. And that's a big issue for the car market, especially right now, because we're already at a place where prices are way too high already. We already have consumers that are backing out of the car market because they just can't afford to pay the prices that manufacturers are asking right now. So if you add in price hikes because of tariffs, if they happen, then this could be a major headwind for all of your manufacturers, not only Ford and GM, but every parts makers. You think of anything that touches the auto industry, you're going to have some kind of tariff put on their product, and that's going to be the worst thing for the car industry. So now, since Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram have had all of these issues, well, they've had to significantly lower earnings forecasts due to industry downturn. That's from them, right? Industry downturn. I don't necessarily know that that's the issue that they have faced over the last 2 years. Now it might be part of the concern, because we have seen a big industry downturn. We have forecast of lower sales for this year and for next year, so that's an added headwind that Stellantis is going to have to deal with. But product was the problem, and on top of lowering their earnings forecast, they'll have to reduce their dealer inventory. Well, we're seeing that happen. Little pieces here and there, while we're seeing a lot of the sell down. They have been able to reduce their inventory. I think at the end of last year, they said they want to reduce their dealer inventory by like 200,000 units. That's a massive, massive number to do, but we have seen in the past couple months, they have had some sales that ticked up. Now in the last quarter, they went back down again. So maybe they were able to sell through a bunch of that inventory, and now all the people who were going to buy a Ram truck, all the people who were going to buy some of the Jeeps over there, well, they bought at the end of the year, and now we're having some hard times this quarter again. But it's just a plague that Jeep is going to have to filter through. And on top of that, they're offering incentives for older models. We've seen all of the reports of 35% or even up to 60% off of year-old, 2-year-old, in some cases 3-year-old new vehicles still sitting on some of these dealer lots. And that's going to be something that these dealers, they have to roll through. They have to get off their books. They have to, because the 2025s, they're already here. But in a lot of cases, a lot of these Jeep, Dodge, Ram dealers, a large percentage of the vehicles that they have on their lot are not 2025s. They're 2024s. And now what that means is that from Stellantis, well, these dealers can't take the new 2025s coming in because they still have so many freaking 2024s sitting on their lot. So they have to incentivize the crap out of these things. You gotta do special interest rates. You gotta have dealers that add percentages off. You have to do buy one, get one free Jeeps. I've seen ads like that. I've seen 60% off. Jeeps, I've seen $18,000 off just at a Jeep, Dodge, Ram dealership near me. It's usually that I see these ads that come across on other YouTube videos, or I see them on the internet, but I rarely see them where I can actually go and touch one. But I've seen $18,000 off some of these trucks where I could actually go buy one for $18,000 off around me. So it's a real thing. And it's a real problem that a lot of these Jeep, Dodge, Ram dealers are dealing with right now. So we're seeing right now that even banks are feeling a lot of this pain, and because they're feeling a lot of this pain, what's happening? Well, they're tightening their lending standards, and what happens when banks do that? Well, fewer people can actually buy cars. This is another big headwind for the car market. So right now, about 14% of all auto loans are getting denied. Consumers cannot get into these vehicles. And really, why is that? Well, it's because consumers can't afford to pay these prices. Everything costs more, and their wages are not going up at the same rate that all of their rent, eggs, their groceries, their insurance, all this is going up. So when you have all your expenses go up, well, that's fewer dollars that a consumer is able to spend. And when you have car payments that are, a new car payment average is over $700, and a used car payment, the average is like $550. When you have those type of payments, banks are not going to approve a lot of these subprime lenders anymore because they just can't make the monthly payments on these things. And banks know that, and they know that they're going to have to repo these cars. And right now, there's already a line of repos that need to be picked up, and we don't have enough repo drivers to pick up the repos that are out in the system right now. And now you have Ally Financial, who's has a large auto loan book. They're coming out and they're saying that they're going to back off some of their auto loans that they're worried about that are bad, a lot of them coming from Carvana, but they're also saying that their repo rates and their auto loan delinquency rates going forward are going to be higher than anticipated. And this is after a bunch of quarters of them actually increasing their forecast for auto loan delinquencies and repos. So it's even worse than their top end estimations. This is a big worry. And you have, where, okay, we've had this housing crisis where a lot of people walked away from their houses, where a lot of people lost their houses. You could see a similar situation in the car market because people owe so much more money than their cars are actually worth. The amount of negative equity has never been higher in the car market. So there could be the situation where a consumer looks at their vehicle, they can see that they owe $50,000 on this thing, and then they could go buy the same thing, a brand new one, because of incentives, because of percentages off, for $40,000. What does that customer want to think? Well, in a lot of cases, they're not wanting to go out and buy a new car, but two, it could make them think, okay, well, you know what, I just need to get out of this car. And a lot of ways that consumers can do that is just by really turning the car in. This is terrible for their credit, but a lot of consumers, they can lose hope. The easy example of a scenario just like this is think about Dodge Chargers, Challengers from the last couple of years. Well, consumers were paying $10,000, $20,000 over MSRP for a lot of these vehicles, and that was just 18 months ago. You can get those same Chargers, Challengers for 10 or 15% under MSRP. That's a major flip in just a short amount of time. And because this flip has happened, well, you have negative equity that is piling up in bunches on a lot of these consumers that foolishly paid a lot of these dealer markups, $10,000, $20,000. It makes me sick to think about all the negative equity that those consumers in particular are having to deal with right now.